Do you smoke pot?
So no, I don't. I definitely don't smoke pot now. But I tried it when I was a kid. But I still believe that it should remain. That we shouldn't decriminalise it. There's still a loss there for the gang.
Graham Bloxton for Wellington Live and Wellington in Your Pocket down at Parliament again, and it's the week that we're releasing our protested documentary. You may recall that we came down here and Joseph, my cameraman, and I got a bit of a punch up, and I'm with Mark Mitchell today, and thank you for taking the time.
You're welcome.
And thanks for letting us take our masks off. Take us through what's going on.
Oh, I mean, I came in, so in terms of my portfolio, I came into the portfolio when Chris Luxton took over as leader. I asked him for the portfolio. There's a couple of reasons for that. One is that obviously I came to Parliament with a big focus on community safety and law and order. I actually had a policing career myself, and in my view, I'd never seen the country in the state of lawlessness that we currently see it. So I asked to take that portfolio. I feel like we've got a soft on crime government, a minister that really doesn't want to be in that role. She's come to Parliament because she wants to do something and is passionate about something, but I don't believe it's the police portfolio. Of course I felt like the police leadership itself wasn't stepping up to the mark of which. So that's fundamentally why I took on the portfolio. And since then, I've been doing the best that I can to do my job as the opposition, member of the opposition and the opposition spokesperson, to hold the government to account. We've seen a massive increase in gang membership, over 40%, 21% increase in violent crime, and a 31% increase in violent retail crime.
Let's pull it back to Tawa, the suburb of Tawa, the community group there, very up in arms because the current government stopped measuring crime and sort of tried to hide behind the measurement of who was doing this and that. I mean, how bad is that? Not measuring and not knowing what's going on.
Well, you have to. It's like anything you do in life. Is if you want to invest, you want to actually get results, and you have to measure the outcome and actually measure what's been done and what's been achieved, what's been delivered. And if you don't do that, then fundamentally you see exactly what's happened with this government, where they keep making massive, announcements around funding, but that funding just sort of sloshes around, ends up going down a drain, and everyone's left wondering what's happened to it and what's actually been delivered.
That's not good. That's terrible. No. What do you mean down a drain? So what you're saying is money is available, it's getting pushed into programs, but it's not being used efficiently.
Well, I mean, a classic example is the 1.9 billion that was pledged and supposed to have been spent on mental health. If you go around the country, mental health professionals will wonder where that money's gone.
Are you saying that mental health has a direct impact on crime?
Absolutely, it does. The reason why I raised mental health is because our police officers' core business is around protecting, detecting, investigating, looking after and protecting their community. And more often than not, they have to deal with people with serious mental health issues. They're not trained to do that. That's a mental health, a fully trained, properly skilled mental health worker that should be stepping in and doing that work. So there should have been a big investment into CAT teams, so that police officers aren't having to sit around and spend a shift trying to look after someone with a serious mental health issue, when actually they should be in the care of professionals.
It's not only it's the impact, the financial impact of not being set up. Are you saying that you'd spend that money for Wellington better?
Well, if we're back in government next year, and I have the privilege of being police minister, then we'll be doing a full review and looking at how our police are supported through other government agencies, and get them funded properly and focused properly with actual deliverables to allow our police to get focused back on their core business. Because at the moment you can have a police officer spend 6 hours of their shift babysitting a juvenile or youth offender, when actually they should be handed back over to Oranga Tamariki or MSD or a youth justice system.
Is that not happening now?
No, it's not happening now. Our police officers are quite simply having to spend far more of their time than they should be, having to look after youth offenders or find somewhere for them to be placed, and they shouldn't be doing that.
So just a bit about your background. I mean, it's an intense role, I'm sure, and you believe you're going to get in next year, I suppose, as a party.
Well, look, I mean, the reality of it is we've still got a lot of work to do.
Yeah.
We have to show the country that we're ready to govern next year,
Are you?
Yes, we are, absolutely. And the team has come together, and you know, Christopher Luxon is outstanding. We're united. We've got the discipline back that we need, and we're fully focused on actually changing the government this year, because we realise and understand that another 3 years of this government is going to continue to take New Zealand backwards rapidly, and we just cannot afford to do that. We've got to be back up on our skids again.
What do you say to the fact that when I used to go to Gisborne as a 16-year-old, and my nana was a blue, and she said if I ever voted Labour, she would turn in her grave. And I was proud of Jacinda in New York when she was selling our meat and talking about guns, and I actually had a prickle of admiration for her. I mean, can you really beat that? I know I'm going to take this to a little bit about politics, but I want to talk a wee bit about you and your passions, whether you play rugby and things. But you must have been proud of NZ Inc. when she did that.
Look, I think that, you know, the Prime Minister's role is a tough role, right? It's a hard job. It's extremely demanding. And when our Prime Minister, regardless of what political persuasion we are, when our Prime Minister is on the international stage, we should support them, because it's more about promoting, you know, our brand as New Zealand Inc. And those international relationships are extremely important. So, you know, that trip was an important one. I think that her big problem is that she's got a very weak team behind her, and they haven't been able to deliver. And fundamentally, when you're a leader and you're a Prime Minister, you've got to be able to deliver on what you promised. And when you look at all the measures that they wanted to actually judge themselves against, child poverty's gone up, you know, that the social housing list is blowing out, mental health issues. You know, we had someone in the hospital the other day with typhoid that had to isolate in their car because minimal hospital couldn't deal with them. So they've you know, in my policing portfolio, a 40% increase in gang numbers.
Wow.
You know, we had last week we had 12 drive-by gang shootings.
12.
Unprecedented in this country. So, you know, the problem is that when you're Prime Minister, you actually have to be able to deliver, and that's where these guys have really fallen down, and that's where the public now is starting to, they want some accountability around it.
You want to bring that?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
And the team. Let's just take a bit of a, you know, a bit of a sojourn into Wellington. I mean, you come here. Where's your hometown?
So I'm a Jaffa from Auckland.
Yeah. Where in Auckland?
On the North Shore. I was born and bred on the North Shore. I travelled a lot, and actually most of my policing career was over in Gisborne, on the East Coast. So yeah, so you obviously got connections into Gisborne, Graham. But you know, that was a great place to police for me. Because, you know, we covered from Ruatoria down to Wairoa.
Wow.
And if you want to have a megaphone on the social issues that we face as a country, then, you know, go to the East Coast of New Zealand. Beautiful place, amazing communities. I absolutely love it, and I still love the place, and I love getting back there when I can. But of course, we had a lot of social issues up there as well, and that was when I was policing up there. It was sort of coming through the tail end of the Rastafarians and all those issues that we're dealing with up the coast.
They're starting to get into medical cannabis now, and you know, it's a big opportunity there. When MedSafe came in and destroyed that medical cannabis opportunity for pain relief and things like that, it's so frustrating. I've got a friend who's invested in it, and I guess that goes beyond law and order, but it does have a connection to it.
Yeah, it's a big industry now, pharmaceutical cannabis products, and you know, there's a lot of medical evidence to say that it does help people, especially with pain relief and things like that.
Do you smoke pot?
So no, I don't. I definitely don't smoke pot now, but I tried it when I was a kid. But I still believe that it should remain. That we shouldn't decriminalise it. It's still a loss leader for the gangs. There's still a lot of health and social issues around it. But I'm saying that you know, I've got no problem with pharmaceutical problems. With pharmaceutical products.
And are you keeping fit?
No, not at the moment, but I need to, because for my sins I'm still playing parliamentary rugby, and we've got our first fixture coming up after a long hiatus, and that is in July over in Tauranga with Zespri, and we did one of our last games that we did was with them, and it was raising money for the victims of the White Island tragedy, which was very special because a lot of the victims and their families came out, and we were able to raise, you know, the community really turned out to support, and we were able to raise some good money. So, you know, that parliamentary rugby and that parliamentary sports is actually really important for us.
What's your position?
Oh, when I was a young guy playing rugby, I was midfield.
Yeah.
And Richie Guy is our coach, and he took one look at me when I joined the team. That's 10 years ago now, and he said, "Sorry, you're a front rower now."
Oh, how do you like the change from the black? Are you? And do the two? Is it a bipartisan team or is it?
It is bipartisan. That's the other part that I really like, is that it is a bipartisan team. It's a way for politicians across the House and across the parties to come together, you know, with a common aim of actually going in there and supporting the charity.
Supporting the community.
Yeah,
but what do you do when McAnulty gets a hold of the rugby ball? He grab him back or something?
He started. He's a racing sardine, so we put him out on the wing, but he made his debut, played a couple of games, but he's disappeared now. He's gone onto the cricket team. So. Oh
no, that's not what he said.
No, he still tuned out. Well, if he turns, I'll tell you what. The challenge is, let's see if he turns up at Tauranga next month.
Oh, we'll keep an eye on that.
Yeah.
And tell me, you're coming in and out of Wellington. What are your favourite things about Wellington? This is part of your home, isn't it?
I've got to be honest with you that when I first came to Parliament, Wellington didn't hold a big attraction to me at all.
Yeah.
I was completely bought into the old, windy Wellington.
Jaffa.
Yeah, I was a typical Jaffa. And my only other experience of Wellington is when I trained at the police college.
Right.
Up in Pororua, so I didn't have a positive mindset, and then just gradually over the next sort of 12 to 24 months, I realised that it was just a very compact, very cool, funky city that had a really good vibe, and I started to actually really enjoy it. So I made the big step, and I actually bought an apartment down here. So I feel more connected to the city and our friends and family, and everyone from Auckland just loves coming down and spending time down here.
Yeah.
There's always something going on. There's always a buzz. There's always something to celebrate. So it's actually a really cool city.
Awesome. That was Graham Bloxham for Wellington Live and Wellington in Your Pocket today in Parliament down here. And before we go, we might as well just mention the protest. I mean, what happened there?
Oh, look, there's a review underway on that. That was a tragedy, whichever way you cut it, whichever angle you look at it. But from a policing perspective, I was extremely proud of the way the police conducted themselves, the restraint that they showed, the teamwork that they showed in terms of dealing with that protest, because at the end of the day, what they ended up dealing with on those last couple of days was a whole lot of people that arrived in Wellington looking for a fight with the police. And any of the genuine protesters that were actually protesting something that they held strong beliefs around had already left. And so, you know, it was tragic that we got to that stage, but I was extremely proud with the way the police conducted themselves.
I mean, that's how it ended. We've just finished a documentary, a Netflix documentary. We're trying to get it on there called Protested. The police violence at the start, do you think that sparked it up?
No, not at all. I don't think that. I watched it right from the start. I was here on the first day. There was obviously I was away for parts of the protest when the police were in a cordon contain type role, but I was there on the final day as well. And all I ever saw, in my view, was discipline and restraint. And if there was force to be used, then it was the minimum amount of force that they actually required to get the job done. But you know, if there are any issues, it's good that we've got a system that is transparent. We've got the IPCA as the watchdog, and I've got a high level of confidence in them to be able to investigate and report if there was any misconduct by the police.
It's very interesting how social media goes. I mean, you must have a social media account. What do you think about social media in general? And just before I say that about how the police have pitched themselves, and they really have, they're starting to have some fun with it and engage. Their channel is amazing, by the way.
I mean, social media now is part of our lives, right? You know, if you want to avoid it, I guess you can. Some people are completely disconnected. I think probably in a lot of ways, it's better for their mental health that they do, because the problem with social media is that you're always going to attract negative people and negative comment, and that's the reality of it. Some people are equipped to deal with that, and others not so much. And so I actually think that a lot of the mental health issues that we see today in a modern New Zealand society, a lot of those are attributable to social media and the type of bullying, abuse, and comments that and people that they attract. And to me, it really annoys me because you get all these, you get people that are willing to hide behind, they're not willing to actually identify themselves, and they get behind a keyboard, become keyboard warriors, and they say a whole lot of stuff that they wouldn't be prepared to say to someone's face. And it's hugely damaging, especially for our young people. So, I think that for all the positives, and there are positives without a doubt around social media, there's also some really damaging negatives associated with it as well.
Oh, thank you for sharing that. And as I say, Graham Bloxham for Wellington Live, thank you for your service and for your staunchness and standing up and doing the right thing for the community. I know that a lot of our followers will want to have questions for you, and we may fire a couple of questions for you in the coming weeks. And good luck with the next 18 months, I suppose.
Yeah, thanks, Graham, and good luck to you guys too, in terms of what you're doing, because I think that one thing that's really healthy for a democracy like ours in New Zealand is for people to have lots of different ways of getting their information and content. So, and especially that you're out there obviously passionate and promoting your city, so good on you.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Thank you. No MSM here.
No, that's right.